So, I'm making this video. Just want to start out by saying thank you for tuning into this video. This is probably your first time ever seeing something from me. I'm a 3D artist, as well as I would consider myself a game designer. And with this project, I want to show off a couple of cool things that I'm doing, as well as kind of my goals with this project. And I just wanted to be able to share this project with a lot more people. I wanted to get some really good feedback on it. And I wanted to use it as a really strong portfolio piece. So I've got several goals with this project, but I've got a few main ones that I'm gonna kind of go over today, and I kind of want to discuss a little bit. I want to tell you about, because I'm planning on making more videos about this project. So I'm planning on hopefully coming out with weekly videos for it. Just kind of with general updates about what I'm doing with the project, some of the work that I'm doing to kind of give people help maybe in their own models, kind of maybe teach a little bit. I'd love to this be a little bit educational as well for people. That's kind of what I've always wanted my YouTube channel to be, so I'm hoping that with this I can do something like that. And with this project, I want to learn myself. So if you have any feedback, if you have any criticism, if you have anything that you want to send my way, feel free. It allows me to have different perspectives, get different ideas, and ultimately come to a better choice at the end of the day. But I kind of want to show off kind of the general proposition of this project. So what is this project? So I'm making a Cyberpunk asset pack. I have a lot of goals with this asset pack, but my main goal is to create something really high quality that anybody can use. Whether you're a very, very skilled 3D artist, but I also want to make it for the person that basically knows nothing. It's their first time in Engine. And I want to create something that allows them to play around really easily and try different things and see what it looks like. And this is kind of a twofold project with that. So I want to create something really high quality that the industry can use, but I also want to create something that anybody can use. So it's a bit of both. And I also want to create something that is usable across multiple things. So something that can be used on really high-end stuff and really low-end stuff. So here, as we can see, kind of starting off, I've got a few models that I've already started creating after I did the block out of the main city, which will probably still change, but I'm pretty happy with the way it looks right now. I like the overall, the feel and look of it, and I like the overhang over here. This feels really nice. I like the overall kind of appeal of the buildings. Some of them have like a nice angle to them, like this one kind of angles in a little bit. I really liked, if we go over to my reference here, if I can find them, there are these one buildings in Cyberpunk that I loved. Yeah, it's these things. I'm assuming they're like, I don't even know if you can go in them. Are they big enough for like a person to be in? Like, they look cool. And like, I was like, I want that on a building. I was like, but I don't like the building that it's on in the game. I'm like, I want something a little different. I was like, this looks cool. Still have to design this overall shape, but I wanted to make them bigger, big enough for a person to fit inside of. I thought it would be cool to make them like, actually like you go inside them. I think that would be really cool. Having them angled downwards so they have good supportage, like triangle style supports. So at least seems like reasonable. With the main focus being kind of this area, and then this area, and then anything else on the back being kind of superlative and kind of extra, and kind of being background assets and stuff. So we'll probably end up having like fencing to like block off going too far back. But I want to make it seem like this world is bigger than it actually is. Obviously, I'm not going to create like a massive open world like Cyberpunk does. That's a lot of effort. But I want to create just a chunk of the world. You know, basically what most environment artists usually get. Either you are extremely technical, I would assume, and you get to do a bunch of PCG shit on the environment where you're just like, boop, and it's like trees. Obviously it's not that easy, but but you get the point. Or you're very much more on your hands and knees designing, the intricacies of how the environment's going to feel, how is it going to look, using the concept art as leverage to basically design this world off of. That's kind of what I'm doing here. So I also really liked the signage in the world. The signage felt really cool. That's another big thing I really want to focus on with this project is logo design. So I really like doing logos and stuff. I may throw up a couple of images of some logos I've done in the past, but they're nothing too grand, but I really like doing them. And I've done a lot of UI work for just in games as well. I've done small logos on models. I've done a lot of those. I do a lot of like decals for models, and I do a lot of that work in Illustrator, and I can kind of show off a few of them that I've done here. But I really like doing them, and I think doing something like that again here for this would be really fun, and being able to show that skill off some more. So yeah, I also want to use this project, as you can kind of tell, to brag a little bit. I know a lot of skills, and I want to show them off in, I think, the best way I think possible, which is basically telling you about them. I just really want more people to recognize me for my skills, and I really want a very cool job. And you can kind of tell by the project, I really want to work on the next Cyberpunk game. I've been working in Unreal Engine 5 specifically for that reason for the past 2 or 3 years, with that in the back of my mind, basically being like, I know CD Projekt Red is moving on to Unreal Engine 5, not only for Cyberpunk, but for The Witcher as well. If they're going to do it, a lot of other competitors may also do it. If not them, then other industries and other companies will start using it that are either new or, etc. And as we've seen, a lot of people have been using it. You have Marvel Rivals have been massively successful. Black Myth Wukong has been massively successful. Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remaster, technically beautiful, like wonderful remaster. Yeah, I would say that these games have technical issues in terms of like frame rate and stuff like that, and that's its own bag of worms. But overall, this engine has been very successful, at least in terms of like creating a quality, like fun game. I mean, all of those games I just mentioned, I've played, and I love them. So I really liked Cyberpunk 2077, and that's a really inspirational game for me. I really like the high quality assets that they tried to push for, and I really hope with this next game they push that even harder, because it is a gorgeous game to walk around in. Every time I play it, I'm blown away by the visuals of it. It's just driving around Night City and having the rain hit the ground and having everything reflect off of everything else, and just seeing the beautiful lights shimmer and just seeing the entire city reflected underneath you is just so goddamn beautiful. And I really want to do that here. My initial goal is to start small. So kind of off of this kind of reference sheet here in the corner, I really liked the layout of this, just the basic layout. You can kind of tell I've taken inspiration from this, but not fully. I really liked the addition of the walkway, which I have over here, but I also have more structure on top of it. That's one thing I really liked in Night City, is having structure built on top of it. Being like, yeah, we wanted to build a road here, but there's a building in the way. Well, fuck the building. Let's just build on top of it, they they own the rights to this. They don't own the rights up here, So they don't own the airspace, we do. So they can figure that out on their own. I've always liked that kind of visual storytelling in a game like this, so I definitely wanted to include that. I also really like this center kind of like area. I see a lot of areas like this where like kind of gangs will hang out in the game, kind of at tables or stuff, and I really wanted to have like kind of like a little like arcade style diner kind of thing, or like an ice cream shop here kind of a thing, and have like a bunch of like those like little tables with like the umbrellas and shit, and you could have like a gang sitting out here. I think that would look really cool. I think that's very fitting. These assets I've been kind of hovering around. You may or may not have noticed the differences between them yet already. But the biggest difference in them is going to be topology and the amount of topology. So one of these is a fairly low poly, and one of these is a pretty damn high poly, and one is using nanite and the other one isn't. So I can turn on nanite real quick to show you the triangles. So as you can see, this one on the left is using nanite. As I get closer to it, you know, you've got all those nice tris and stuff in there and all the extra polygon detail. I can turn on a lit wireframe to show it even better. So this is a decimated high poly mesh. I'll show off the original high poly mesh here, but I've noticed a lot of times in the industry, at least as of recently, a lot of meshes get decimated. And I'd like to know more a little bit about this, but I've seen it on Silent Hill 2 remake, which was also in this game. I've seen it on Black Myth Wukong, and I'm assuming that it's all over Oblivion. Just based on the way that certain geometry looks. I'm like, yeah, that looks decimated. Not in a bad way, but it's just like, yeah, that doesn't look like it's like actual like good topology, quote unquote. Unlike this one, which I haven't decimated yet, and it uses actually like decent topology for the most part. So you can kind of tell. Yeah, you can see like the loops running around here really well, and yeah, but it's decimating it. So that's the thing. That's why it's like you might as well just use a decimated mesh, because it is decimating it in engine actively at all times. Like you might as well cut down on what you don't need. Unless you're going to animate the shit out of it, in which case do what you need to do, girl. But then we got the low poly. As you can tell, it's very different. Much lower. But it comes with a lot of benefits. Probably like, how do the normal maps look so good? Well, they're not just normal maps. It's parallax occlusion mapping. Some of you probably already guessed that. But yeah, I've decided to make two different models. So I'm going to have the high poly model. So this is going to be modeled in 3ds Max, sub-D style modeling. Some of them I'll probably do in ZBrush, but that's not going to be too many, just because of the mechanical and hard surface design that Cyberpunk has. Some of the things I probably will, but it's not going to be very many. Yeah, so this I'll do each model. We'll get a high poly version that will be usable with nanite very easily. It'll be easily texturable, as well as a parallax occlusion map version that will be similarly easily texturable. And so far I've got two of the main models. This was kind of my test run with it to see like, oh, like how is it going to look? Is it going to look good enough compared to the high poly? And I'd say, yeah. At most times during a game, you're going to be about this far away from the model at most. You're really not going to get this up close to it ever. Maybe, but you're most likely going to be like here with it. But with the low poly as well as the high poly, I've also created a shader system. So I'll kind of go through and show that off real quick. Open up that one, and then we'll open up the LP. So in here we've got our shader going on. Looks pretty cool. Looks pretty cool with all that extra parallax occlusion and normal detail. And we got the other one going on. Pretty basic looking. Some ambient occlusion stuff going on, which is nice. So we've got a few main maps in here. So we've got our albedo with the AO for the high poly map. And then this as well has the RGB on it. And this basically allows me to tell the engine, hey, only mask this area out for this texture. Only mask this area out for this texture. And that's what these are. So as you can see, I have albedo 1 through 4, normal 1 through 4, and ORM 1 through 4. And this allows me to do RGB as well as black. So no color. So anything that has no color will get the first option, and then R, G, and then B, of course, going down the list. So no color, RGB. And that allows me to have really high resolution tileable textures on an object without losing fidelity. If you were to bake this texture onto the object, onto a UV map, you would lose a lot of detail. With this, it allows me to add a lot more. On top of this, I'm going to also have parallax occlusion mapped decals, so you'll be able to add additional detail on top of these maps. So if you're unhappy with the variation in it, you'll be able to add more variation. So that will be a very, very big thing that I work on in the near future is decals to help add variation to my artwork. So, but yeah, this is just kind of the initial kind of first go at this, my idea for this project. I have a lot more I want to try, a lot more I want to learn about. My next big goal is I want to do a test run on logo stuff. I want to test drive designing a logo, putting it on here. And then I also want to plan out a little bit how I want to do the logos. So right now in my head, I want to put all of the logos and stuff like that, so like bag chips or like shit, anything like that, all on one UV sheet, and they'll all use that one massive UV sheet. In cases like that, they won't use the RGB texture. They'll use their own specific shader. But yeah, that's my plan for that. So they'll use a very simple, very, very simple shader. Nothing super complex. So yeah, that'll be nice. And those will go. I've got some stickers on the side of there, and then of course I'll have like bags of chips and shit like that. I'm planning on having cigarettes, so I've got a lot of logos and labels and shit like that to design. But I really like doing stuff like that, and being able to show that off more will be really fun. So my first goal is to get this building done. After I get this building done, at the same time I'm going to kind of work in tandem on the shader, and I'll be releasing the first version of this asset pack. So the first version of this asset pack is just going to be just this building and the shader. So the main focus of you buying this asset pack is the shader. So most people are going to buy it for the shader, but I want to include assets with it so you can test it out. So it'll include these assets as basically like a test drive. So yeah, it'll include textures and stuff like that from the project. And then as I continue working on the project, I won't add any more to that asset pack, but I will have other asset packs available for purchase for this project, with the end goal being this being one large pack that I'm going to bundle together at the end. So it'll be kind of segmented into pieces, and then you'll be able to buy the whole thing at once at some point. So once it's all out. If you feel like supporting me along the way, I'll have different ways throughout the time to support me, but right now the best way you can do to support me is just to subscribe, put a like down, let me know what you think, let me know what you want to see, what you want to learn about. I'd love to show you some cool tools and techniques. If you ever watch my video and are like, how did he do that? When did he do that? Why did he do that? How did he do that? Who did he do that? Where did he do that? Whatever. Let me know. Let it be known. Because I'd be happy to help. And point you in the right direction at the very least. Kind of showing off a bit of my model work. So this is a model I've been recently working on based on. I've also been using Star Citizen quite a bit for my inspiration. They use parallax occlusion mapping for everything in that game, and it looks incredible. That's all parallax occlusion map detail. That's all parallax occlusion map detail. That's all parallax occlusion map. That's parallax occlusion map. Those are I modeled those in, but they didn't even. I wanted to, just because I felt like it did add a better look to it, so I went through and did that. So, but they also have this up here, and I was like, well, I want to make something similar, and I did. It looks pretty good. Theirs is a little bit more of a soft angle. Mine went with a bit of a harder angle. I really liked the way that looked a bit more. I thought it looked cooler. So And then as well, I can show you off the high poly export. So this is the actual original high poly. So this is the one with all the faces on it. So I can show it off to you real quick. Actually, you know what? Let me show you this one instead. This one will be easier to load. Yeah. Turn on edged faces. So, yeah. Gonna see what we're working with here. So this was before Turbo Smooth. This is with all the creases and all that good shit. So it's looking pretty good at this point. And then I added my sub div and it really cleaned it up. So yeah, even got the individual screws, no backing on them. Well, just this, just in case. But yeah, this is the high poly that ends up turning into this. Over 8 million, which we decimated down to this with only 672,000. So, but this one, as you can see, does not have good looking topology, but it is unwrapped the exact same way as the really, really high poly one. So it allows me to use this one in place of it. So, but allows me to use this one to bake all the detail down in Marmoset, which is exactly what I do. So if by any chance somebody from CD Projekt Red is watching this, feel free to send me an email. But seriously though, if you do ever want to get in contact with me, regardless of who you are, if you're just interested in my content or you just have a question and don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, feel free to shoot me an email. I leave my business email down below. And you're welcome to contact me through it. So yeah. I have a lot of goals with this project. I've kind of already designed out some of these buildings a bit, blocked them out pretty heavily. Most buildings are not going to have an interior, similar to how Cyberpunk is. Pretty much all of them aren't. This is the only building I really want to do an interior with, because I really, really just gravitated towards it for some reason. I thought it was really interesting, and it allows me to make a lot of things that I've never really made before. Just weird objects, like this thing. Like, I've never made anything like this before, but it was really easy. It was really quick. It was really fast. And it was really fun. It allowed me to research kind of how this worked and how these kind of fit together, and then you can attach like a little thing in it to put the price on, and yeah, it'll look cool. So, and then I'm gonna have shelves here, and then I'm gonna have like little coolers back here, one that's gonna say beer on the top. If you're really interested in the project, yeah, feel free to subscribe, like it, let me know what you think. I'm going to be doing more of this in the future. I'm going to be streaming this over at twitch.tv/Mr.Anderson art, some shit like that. It's down below. You can check the description. As well as I'm going to be doing a vertical stream over on YouTube if you want to catch that. Me dual streaming. And don't know if I'll do that today or not. If you're watching this video. But I'm going to try to do at least an hour or two every day. At some point during the day. Probably like middle of the day. Feel free to share this with anybody who you think would be interested in this, and I hope you have a wonderful and beautiful day, and I hope to see you in the next one. So, peace.